The Lok Sabha was adjourned not once, not twice, but again. Not because the country faced an emergency, not because a war broke out, not because Parliament ran out of business, but because chaos was manufactured. An unpublished book was waived, rules were challenged, the Speaker was defied, and disruption followed exactly as it always does. But pause here for a moment and understand this clearly. What India witnessed today was not an accident, it was not spontaneous outrage, it was not even about that book. It was about habit. Hello and welcome to the narrative now. I am Sudhanshu Sharma. Inside the Lok Sabha today, during the motion of thanks to the President's address, the rules were explicit and the chair made it clear. No unpublished books, no unauthenticated material, no deviation from the subject. Yet the leader of opposition chose to persist. The defense minister objected, saying imaginary excerpts were being quoted. The home minister asked a fundamental question: how do you verify content that has not even been published? The Parliament Affairs Minister reminded the House that procedure is not optional. Still, the warnings were ignored. The result was adjournment, suspension of MPs, and another day of Parliament lost. This is where the larger story begins. Because this disruption is not new, it is not unique to this session, it is not even unique to this year. Since 2014, disruption has become the Congress Party's default political language. If there is a reform, they protest. If there is legislation, they stall. And if there is debate, they drown it in slogans. Sometimes the excuse is Pegasus, sometimes it is Adani, sometimes it is Rafale, sometimes it is China, and when nothing sticks, something is invented. Different names, same outcome. Parliament stalled, bills delayed, governance slowed. This is not opposition, this is obstruction as ideology. Because opposition requires homework, obstruction only requires noise. The rules of the parliament exist for one reason: to protect the institutions from becoming political playgrounds. So when the speaker enforces rules, it is not to protect the government, it is to protect the dignity of the House. But here lies the real problem. The Congress ecosystem has grown up believing that rules do not apply to the Nehru-Gandhi dynasty. That principle is old, deeply ingrained, almost cultural within the party. And when those same rules are now applied uniformly, the response is predictable: ruckus, protest, disruption. Because when entitlement meets accountability, chaos is the only fallback. But today, the disorder did not stop inside the House. Outside Parliament, the tone slipped even further. Rahul Gandhi publicly referred to Union Minister Ravneet Singh Bittu, a respected Sikh leader, as a traitor. Let that sink in. A Sikh MP, a man whose family has paid the price in Indian politics, casually branded as a traitor just because he does not align politically. This is not sharp politics, this is reckless language. And it triggered exactly what it should have: anger, condemnation, and outrage, especially from the Sikh community. Because words matter and history matters even more. Speaking of history, it is impossible to ignore what BJP MP Nishikant Dubey pointed out inside the Lok Sabha the same day. When Rahul Gandhi insisted on quoting from an unpublished book, Nishikant Dubey responded by pointing to published, documented works. Books, archives, historical records about the actions and decisions of the Nehru-Gandhi family. From the Mitrokan archives to numerous biographies and investigative works. These are not whispers, they are part of documented historical debate. Yet, the moment those references were raised, the same Congress that demanded free discussion erupted in protest again. Because discussion is welcome only when it suits the Congress ecosystem. And This brings us to a truth the Congress has never been comfortable confronting. But history does not forget, especially 1984. After the assassination of PM Indira Gandhi, the country witnessed one of the darkest chapters in independent India's history, the anti-Sikh riots. And instead of accountability, what did the nation hear from the Prime Minister at the time? Rajiv Gandhi said, and this is on record, when a big tree falls, the earth shakes. Those words were not poetic, they were political cover. Cover for a genocide, cover for violence, cover for impunity. Decades later, one of the closest Gandhi family loyalists, Sajjan Kumar, stands convicted and is languishing in jail for his role in those riots. History wrote that verdict, not social media, not slogans. So when Congress leaders today casually label Sikh MPs as traitors, it reopens wounds they never truly healed. And this is the core contradiction. On one hand, the Congress claims monopoly over morality. On the other, it refuses to confront its own past. On one hand, it demands rule-free speech in Parliament. On the other, it collapses when rules apply to it. Inside the House, disruption. Outside the House, provocation. And across platforms, victimhood. This is not accidental. This is an ecosystem at work. But Parliament is not a protest site. It is not a street corner. It is not a stage for theatrics. It is the workplace of the Indian democracy. Every hour lost there is paid for by citizens through delayed reforms, stalled laws, and missed opportunities. India today is not operating in a slow world. Supply chains are shifting, economies are realigning, and geopolitics, like always, is unforgiving. We cannot afford a permanently stalled parliament in such a moment. And yet, session after session, the Congress chooses paralysis over participation. So, this is why today's disruption matters. Because it exposes something deeper than disagreement. It exposes an inability to function within rules, an inability to debate without derailing, an inability to oppose without obstructing. Democracy does not die when rules are enforced. Democracy dies when rules are selectively accepted. And the irony is impossible to miss. Those who shout the loudest about saving democracy are often the ones preventing it from functioning. India today is moving forward, slowly, sometimes imperfectly, but forward. That journey requires debate, it requires dissent, but above all, it requires discipline. Disruption cannot become a substitute for ideas, noise cannot replace vision, and entitlement cannot override institutions. So the question India must now ask is simple. Can a nation aiming for the future afford an opposition trapped in permanent ruckus mode? That is the real debate. That is the real disruption. Because this is the narrative now. Jai Hind!